Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farmer, the podcast. This is your host, J.C. Young. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, a guy by the name of Andy Schreck. Andy is one of our main team members and team leaders here inside of Legacy Farmer. He's been with us for some time now. And for all the listeners out there, I wanted to bring Andy on to really be able to share his story. I want you to get to know him because he's heavily involved with all of our members here inside of Legacy Farmer. I want to give him an opportunity to one, introduce himself, talk about his background, his farm operation, and then ultimately what he does for our members inside of Legacy Farmer. So Andy, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks, Chase.
So go ahead and just kind of get us started off a little bit, go over background, where you grew up, family dynamics, the operation, everything like that.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small family farm in West Central Minnesota. I grew up, raised, just really to work on the farm, right? Dad had cows and stuff like that. So busy hands-on calving cows, as soon as I can remember, 9, 10 years old, being out there, and stuff like that. So we also had a row crop farming operation, or have a row crop farming operation. And really just spent the years, growing up, I was involved in 4-H and all those different activities and stuff, and really hands-on in the farm, and really just grew, to that was a lifestyle. It was definitely a lifestyle growing up and helping dad and things like that. So we farmed roughly about 1,300 acres, corn and soybeans up where we're from. Again, a small town in West Central Minnesota. So by the name of Appleton, about 1,300 people. So everybody knows everybody, type of thing there. So grew up and, bought my own farm place, went to college after high school, and, graduated from SDSU and here in Brookings, South Dakota, where I currently live now. And then came back to the farm and had an opportunity to purchase a 120 acre farm, that at the, the young age of 19 had this opportunity going into debt, roughly, close to 600,000. And of course, as we know, the years, that was 2015 when I came back and did that. So, I had about 40 cows at that time, farming with dad, about 200 acres. So, really what I experienced then next was this unknowingness. Like, how do you do this? I was really just unleashed.
Well, so let's talk about that a little bit because you're not, obviously, you're older now, but back at 19, there's tons of 19-year-olds every single year that are getting financing at the bank. Parents are co-signing, just like yours did, to go into this massive amount of debt. When you got the loan at the bank, what did you immediately think? Like, what was going through your head at that time?
Yeah, it was, this process was easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me to be able to get co-signed and at 19, like it was a very simple process.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go through the work of proving, yes, I had a cash flow and stuff like that, but all that mattered was that bottom line where it said, my dad, Al Schreck,
Mm-hmm.
sign here. That was it.
Yeah.
That one signature was all I needed.
Yeah. So, and we talk a lot about in Legacy Farmer about building businesses built on financial integrity, right? So, and actually earning our way to the top and having to start a business from ground zero, like a majority of people have to do. Do you feel like if you had to actually do that, if you weren't just handed $600,000 and 120 acres, do you feel like you would have had a different appreciation for your operation?
It would have been completely different just because of, even though this is exactly what I wanted to do, like coming back, this was what I wanted to do. There has to be a stage in there where you have to go through this process to build something. You just have to go through this process because when you see this in the second, third, fourth generations right now, and I see it, people back at home where you get something that's handed to you with not having to go and work for it and to actually, produce and put the hard work in. There's no appreciation for it. And there's no understanding of what it takes to actually build something sustainable.
Well, and I think too, let's make sure we define types of hard work there, right? Because being a legacy farmer and stuff like that now for 2 years for you, you understand kind of there's 2 different types of hard work, right? There's going out and you worked hard from age 9 to 19 on the farm, but there really wasn't any hard work in the office though.
Yeah.
With the numbers.
There's busy work. And for us, that's, driving around the section, looking at crops, driving tractor, till really there's, no work to be done anymore. Just kind of make up work to do. And that's what I did. I spent some of the time in the office though. The problem is that I didn't face the reality. I knew that.
What reality was that?
That things were not working. I could spend the days in the office where, and I enjoyed that part of it. But the problem is that I didn't face the reality. I just hoped and prayed things would turn around.
Yeah. Well, did you know how to track your numbers though? Did you know how the banks work? Did you know how, all these things that we bring in Legacy Farmer, did you know any of them at that time?
Not to the degree that we teach the members here.
Yeah.
Like there's a major difference there, like a complete difference of how you track it and how you look at it, and exactly what the bank's looking at too.
Yeah.
Complete difference.
Yeah. Kind of changes the dynamic of the decisions you make when you actually have the numbers detailed and organized.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, so you joined us, you came into Legacy Farmer first as a member, and then we got you on the team and got you heavily involved in obviously everything that we're doing for the 300 plus members that we have now. But what was the primary reason for jumping on board for you as a member? Like from a farmer's perspective, what was the reason for jumping on board?
For me, it was, what else are you going to do? You have something that this is your life. Like this is your lifestyle. You can't do something like that on your own. It is very difficult. You need a different environment. You need an environment of people to help you share your experiences, share what it's like, because I didn't have anybody at the age of 19 to get started, to surround myself, to know exactly what it is I was doing. I was surrounded by other, farmers or friends. But when it comes to the actual like principles of the financing and the structure, everything that Legacy Farmer, like the message that it spoke, I knew this was exactly what I needed to do. Like it's exactly what you need to do, because I wanted to create something that was going to be sustainable, successful, and this, to know that there was other people who were experiencing the same problems, the same pain that you were. It took this weight off my shoulders that I wasn't alone in this.
Yep. So jumping in, right? You got involved. When did you come to Legacy Farmer? When was that?
It was December 31st, 2019. So it was about a year and a half ago.
Okay. And then you joined the team in February, right? Of 2020. Right. Yep. So, okay. Well, what are some of the biggest things, if you would have had everything that we do in Legacy Farmer 5-6 years ago, like back when you first got started farming, what do you think would have been different?
Oh, it would have been I would have been operating from a place of certainty and confidence, certainty that I have a system here to help track my numbers, look at the finances, to track the numbers, bounce that off of, bring that into the group. And, if there's any questions or if there's something else that somebody can be doing, for a young farmer too, to get started is very difficult. So I had to walk down that path of starting these different businesses I did. And you remember that, did custom cattle hauling and what's called land rolling. That was another business I have running right now. And so there's these different things that you have to do different. Mm-hmm. Trucking was another thing. You have to do things different than what you've done before to create. That's what creating that foundation for a lot of the young guys getting started. Or if you're bleeding money, there has to be a different way you've got to do this.
But let's be clear though, right? You had to start those other businesses because why?
The farm was failing on its
own. The farm was failing.
And that's the truth.
19-year-old kid, $600,000 in debt, like built into or given a system that was already built to fail before you even started.
It was.
So then you have to go grind. And how many years did you grind and feel like you were completely alone and like you were never going to get out of this hole that you were in?
Yeah, it was those 5 years. You couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's just not sustainable.
Yeah. And then we have members coming to Legacy Farmer that have been doing that for 25, 30, 40 years.
Yeah. And that's the problem.
That's the problem.
But even so, if you would have fast forward and say, dad would have passed it down, there's still, you take 13, 14, 1500 acre, whatever you're farming, there's still principles in place that you need to know and making emotional based decisions is the biggest problem I see, that we see. Going out when things are good right now, going out and purchase, overextending yourself without really even looking back at my finances. Can I afford this? I made a decision too to purchase cows, to purchase a tractor when I had money in the bank account at that time.
Yeah.
The problem was those 6 months later, everything changed because markets changed. But my game plan was to go off of markets where they were at today. Cattle prices where they were at, crops were looking good. 3 months from now, we're going to harvest this big crop. And that 1 year we had a weather event come in and knocked, 30% off the corn crop.
Yeah.
2 weeks before harvest. Like you don't prepare for that stuff.
And how many guys are sitting there, they're making massive financial decisions based off of what their checking account balance is or what their operating line of credit balance is?
About all of them.
Yeah.
Because I know that.
Yeah.
Like, I know what that's like.
Lived it. Right.
Yep.
So, okay, man. Well, so you've been on, the team here now for a long time. So just so all the listeners know, Andy is strictly in charge. Well, he does everything for us. My team that I bring into Legacy Farmer, I use something called Full Stack, and I want to make sure that if anything were to happen to Jace, that they can step in and they can handle everything that we do inside of this business. And Andy and Joni, our other team leader, can definitely do that. But Andy is, a lot of his role is just on fulfillment of our customers when they come in, helping them get numbers organized and things like that. So Andy, kind of share a little bit about what that experience has been for you and some things that, maybe you've noticed that are, things that you notice in someone else, something that you did yourself, or just kind of can relate with them. What are some of the things that you've noticed?
So when we bring a member in and they make the commitment, they decide this is what they go in. We start with what's called an onboarding process. So we bring the members in and we dive into farmer metrics. We're looking at your finances and looking at the position with the bank. And the first thing I noticed with a lot of these guys, and I'm going to use the example for those we had one come in yesterday, the second, third generation. Like these guys this guy had 3,000 acres. He's got a hog barns, businesses that his dad started that are now being passed down to him, and he's taking it on to the next level. And the awareness these guys do not have, like it breaks my heart because of what's going to happen if these guys continue to operate the way they do right now. For example, this member still has a 2018 operating note, like 1.8 million. Like 1.8 million still from 2018 because his banker still allowed him to operate in this way. Like this is the things I see from one, having to go through it and experience what it's like to not work, but to others see those who have an operation that is big, is successful, but what will happen, they'll be in the exact same shoes that I will be in.
Well, it's not even that it's successful. It's that they have a credit institution like a bank that is financing them regardless. And that's where I talk a lot about, bankers and drug dealers, right? You go back to the bank and you get another hit. And as long as they say I can farm for 2021 or 2022, I'm good to go. I can pretend that I don't have the $1.8 million operating note still from 2018 when I lost my ass, and I don't have all these other debts. I can pretend there for as long as I want until the end of the year comes. And I know I got to walk back into the bank and I got to fill out a balance sheet, and I don't have any idea where I'm at financially. And I know I'm paying the bank $200,000 plus per year in interest.
But here's the other problem too, is these guys who have those big of operations, 3,000 acres, they tell themselves they're successful because they have something big.
Yeah.
And I can separate those people out when they come in versus those who still feel like they're in scarcity. For example, my dad has built something to be successful, sustainable. It took him 35 years to do that, but yet he still feels and he operates in a completely different way versus these guys that come in and, kind of have that chip on their shoulder, mentally them telling themselves they're doing okay. And that's the problem, that they tell themselves they're doing good because they built something big.
Yeah.
Like that's the difficult conversations we're having, because we got to wake up to the reality and look at the numbers here and say, you know what? We have a lot of, okay, great. We have 5 million in assets. How about liabilities? Like how are we compared to that together?
Yeah.
And separate this thing out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the thing is too many guys are focused on looking good, right? Farming 3,000 acres, being able to say, yeah, I farm 3,000 acres, or yeah, I feed 10,000 head of cattle, or whatever it is, because they have that chip on their shoulder. They're focused on that rather than, hey, how much, what's my profitability after taxes? What am I taking home to my family? Like, what am I really building here? And is it sustainable? Or am I just making financial decisions, massive emotional financial decisions to look good to everybody around me, when I know that deep down the foundation of my house, AKA my business, is crumbling?
Yep. And that's what's hard for these guys, and around that conversation of what you're worth to, this member has a hard time. We had a conversation yesterday, feeling like he's worth 60 grand is what he pays himself. Because a lot of these guys, like I did, you're just trying to make ends meet is what you're doing.
Doing 2 million, 3 million a year in revenue, trying to take home 50,000 a year. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then having a wife and kids to take care of, and those expenses going out the door. Like, it's not sustainable.
Yeah. So what's been the most fulfilling for you though, out of your role here? Cause you come in, you onboard people, and then you're obviously following up with members and meeting with them on a weekly or every other week or monthly basis and going over numbers and talking through personal and business issues and all those things. What's been the most fulfilling thing here inside of Legacy Farmer for you?
I think the thing for me is just seeing the changes that the members come through, because first of all, when you come through the doors here, you've made a commitment to yourself. Like, you've made a commitment, you've recognized the pain. And once we step in and we get on these onboarding calls or get on these calls, we're narrowing down the specific action items that you need to do, but more importantly, why you need to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need to be doing this? So when you come back and I hear the things like dropping interest rates, and members saving, 20, 30, 40K just on changing interest rates, like the impact you have on somebody's life, like that's fulfilling.
Yeah. Well, and, saving 20, 30, 40K on interest when these are people that are just trying to make 50K a year. So you almost double their personal take home income by just getting the numbers organized, understanding how the bank works, and understanding what type of leverage you have on the bank.
And just seeing, again, and relationships, like the dynamics of a family farm, it is difficult, as you know, like it is. Yeah. It is difficult, and pushing these guys to have those conversations. I've had many members where we had to say, this is an energy leak, to provide to get where you need to go next. Like, there's this person that could be in the way.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go have that conversation, and to hear that, and then to hear how that's changed the relationship with their spouse, with their wife.
Yeah. Or with their parents or whoever they're farming with on the operation or whatever it may be.
It's huge. Preventing somebody from making one poor decision. Some of the young guys that come in here, I know what it's like. We're trying to go out and start something, but yet, had another conversation yesterday. One of the guys trying to get started, when it comes to equipment, we can't bite off more than we can chew right away. Mm-hmm. And to be able to share my experience and give that frame on them, that there's things that you can and cannot do. There's a way to do that.
Yeah.
To help somebody prevent from making those same mistakes.
Yep.
That's an impact that you'll have on somebody for 20,
rest of their
years.
life. Yeah. Rest of their life. But one question I have for you though is, if you would have had Legacy Farmer back when you got started, you talked about how, you had your dad there helping you out a little bit, some of your neighbors and stuff like that. But let's be honest, man, you guys did not talk about what we talk about in Legacy Farmer. Mm. Not finances, not personal relationships and things like that. So share with that a little bit. What's it been like for you to see the network evolve, having more than 300 farmers and ranchers from all across America, all spread out, but all, we've created this network here in this space for them to come in and talk about the real stuff that they can't go talk to about with their neighbors. And they can talk to about it with our network because the closest person to them is, 300 miles away. Yeah. What would that have been like for you if you would have had this back when you got started?
It's hard for me to even picture where things could be because of the time wasted, the time you're going to waste getting by, telling yourself it's okay. Like the time waste, you're not going to move. You're not going to move on your own. I'm going to tell you that right now, because I spent 5 years thinking that I had the control in this entire thing, and it's not possible. It is not possible. You need to be surrounded by like-minded people who are going to push you, not those who are trying to bring you down, judge you, make comments. You cannot spend your mental energy around that type of people. You need people who are going to push you. You're going to become those type of people.
Well, and you and I have talked about this multiple times, and I've shared this in other podcasts and things like that. But, majority of success is built in learning what not to do versus learning what to do. Right. So Andy, 19, coming in, just signed the operating line of credit, bought the ground, $600,000 in debt. And, coming in, what would your life have been like if you have these 30, 40, and 50-year-old guys in this group openly sharing numbers, openly talking about finances, openly talking about family dynamics and the struggles that they're facing there, and also how they overcame them and the biggest financial mistakes they ever made? Like, what would that have done for you?
Guys, it gives you the answers.
Yeah. It's
honestly, it gives you the answers.
Yeah.
Like you literally have this honestly a treasure chest of what's inside of there it's honestly invaluable. Mm-hmm.
And just to go ahead
of what you get, like what you get, people have already walked through it. Like they're telling you what works and what not works. Mm-hmm. And you're able to share then your story. You contribute. That's the thing about it. You contribute about what's working with you. You have different people coming in.
Too, I'll point out there as well, inside of our community boardroom calls, we always share numbers. Like we're on Zoom calls, just for the listeners here. We're on Zoom calls. We pull up farmer metrics. And when we're talking through a situation, I will pull up that member's farmer metrics and we talk through it and everybody can see the numbers there. And then the members are comfortable with this. Okay. Kind of a crazy dynamic when you think about how many, people inside of your own personal community that you've grown up in forever, town of 1,300 in Appleton, Minnesota, like you're not sharing numbers there. You're not actually like really trying to help people there and talk about things. So when Andy is saying, I'm talking to legit business owners inside of our network, it's not just based on theory. Everybody around you is a legit business owner. Your neighbors that are farming 3,000 acres, they talk like they're legit business owners. No, ours are backed up with numbers, and they will openly share the numbers to show what their financial position is, biggest mistakes they made, how they're running their operation this year, and where they've gotten to where they've, how they've gotten to where they're at right now versus the same old typical bullshit, coffee shop talk that you have with the guys at home. That's not backed on any merit at all.
I hate that. We're so well known for that. Like coffee shop talk. There's the same group back in the hometown, same group every day. It's filled with shit. Like it just is, right? You just can't. And people get sucked into that though, because where else are you going to go?
Yeah. Comparison game, right?
Comparison game in farming. And it is contagious and it will destroy you.
And you will make massive emotional financial mistakes because you're comparing yourself to the guy down the road, or so-and-so said they're buying this or they're renting this ground and blah, blah, blah. So now you want to compete without ever looking back at the numbers because you don't know how to track your numbers because you don't have a system in place and things like that.
Not even looking at the truth. Like you have to look at the truth.
Just avoiding it at all costs.
Yep.
So, okay, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today. Just wanted to give the listeners a chance to get to know more about you, your backstory, why you do what you do, and, and talk about your role here inside of Legacy Farmer so that they can just get to know you more. So for the listeners here, you're probably going to hear from Andy a lot more because with these onboarding calls and everything that he's doing, there are tons of topics and discussions that come up that we want to start sharing with you guys and talking openly about this. And they are all stories that are going to resonate with you guys. So again, man, I appreciate you coming on.
You bet. Thanks, Jace.
Okay. All right, guys. So that'll conclude today's episode. I hope you found it valuable and we will catch you on the next one.